Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio, your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
What's happened to you when someone made a commitment to do something or a promise to share something and they didn't do what they said they were going to do? And we have expectations. And these expectations don't match up with the behavior the person's already shown us. Welcome to A Woman's Prerogative. Our topic today is when someone shows you who they are. Believe them. Joining me for the first time on USA Global TV and Radio is my co-host, Amanda Holmstrom. She is the founder of Silver Rose & Co. And everything and anything you want to know about etiquette, she's your person to go to. Let's welcome her to the program. Amanda, hello.
Hello, Dr. Jacalyn. Thank you for the glowing welcome.
You are most welcome. Where are you joining us from, Amanda?
I am currently in Airdrie, Alberta, in Canada.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for taking the time to join our team. I am so thrilled. You have worked so hard to become a TV show host, and I'm just grateful that we are sharing this space together.
So am I. I'm very excited to be joining A Woman's Prerogative and honored to be able to co-host next to you.
Well, let's get into the topic because I think this is right up in your area of expertise. Someone tells us they're going to do something, and we already know the last X number of times they didn't actually follow through with it. But we think to ourselves, let me give them another chance. They probably didn't mean to not show up or to disappoint me, but yet they already told us by their behavior. What is it, do you think, that we continue to give people more opportunities?
You know what, I love that question. And it's common for everyone. I know I fall into that all the time. I think we all have this deep belief that we want people to be able to come through for us. And for some of us, we expect them to come through for us the way we would come through for others. And every time that we get let down, we want to give them that chance to redeem themselves or to prove us wrong, that they can be who we think they are. But it does hurt. And eventually people get hardened to it. I know I've fallen into that trap with a few people, and it gets harder and harder to give them another chance. I'm sure you've experienced that dealing with so many people.
I think you said something that is so profound, which is we have this expectation because we would treat someone a certain way, and we think everyone's going to be the way that we are. And I know this about myself, and you know this about me. I'm very structured and very disciplined. And so to me, I almost feel like everyone is going to be structured and disciplined, and that's not the case. So I want to talk a little bit about etiquette. And where does etiquette come in when you think about our expectations of others? Are there any etiquette rules on this?
Absolutely. I'm going to take us back to the absolute basics of etiquette and manners. And that goes back to the golden rule that many of us learn in school or on the playground about treating others the way we would like to be treated. And that's fundamental. You're going to treat people a way that you want them to come back to you. But then we can circle into the platinum rule. which is treating people the way they want to be treated as well. And that's where it gets a little more murky, because then you're looking, well, if they're going to be treating us this way, well, does that mean I should treat them back? And the fundamental rule of etiquette is you're trying to make life better for others, right? It's not about me or myself. It's what can I do to help others? And part of that is stepping up and coming through with my obligations. You've made an agreement with something. You've told someone you would do something or you would be somewhere. And we all know things happen, and that is perfectly acceptable at times. But you want to be there for them. You've said you do that. So the basic etiquette is you do what you've said you're going to do. And that's, if you're going to not, they're not going to ask you again.
So it sounds to me like what you're saying is that we have to set boundaries. So when we are in a relationship with someone, or we have an exchange of some type, that I'll do this in exchange for this, that if that exchange does not take place, that could be that aha moment where we say, okay, now I see what's going on. However, what about when the person justifies their behavior based on things that are not going well in their own life?
I would honestly, you have to look at situations one by one. And I'm sure you're the coach on setting boundaries. I've learned so much from you on that topic. So you have so much experience with that. But you would have to take it on case by case. If they have a reason for not being able to do something and it's legitimate and it doesn't happen all the time, then I know myself, I want to help them be able to manage that situation. So I don't want them to feel guilty because they've said they'll be somewhere and they had a family member rush to the hospital, or something, they got stuck in a traffic jam on the road. As we all know, come summer, in most places it's construction. You can never 100% tell. You can accept that once or twice, but then it becomes, if it's an excuse that's used all the time, then you're going to round back up and those boundaries are going to come back in place going, they're always going to have an excuse. So it's okay once in a while, but not all the time. Is what I would think. What do you think as a coach on boundaries and permission? And
yeah, I agree with you. What I think happens is, and we're not actually aware of it, but we get so used to being in a pattern. It's almost like ping pong, back and forth, back and forth. A person says they're going to do something. We think they are going to do it. They come up with excuses. We give them more time. And then by the time you know it, we are so frustrated because we're thinking, but wait, you said you were going to do it. You asked for more time. I gave you the time and you're still not doing it. And at some point, this is where it comes into the title. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. This is who they are. One of the areas that people really have struggles with is time management. So instead of acknowledging they are not working to a calendar or to a schedule, they come up with all kinds of excuses. And my mother used to say, it's like the boy who cried wolf. You know, you can only believe it so many times. And then you have to say, listen, this person's not going to show up. I can't count on them. Or let's say it's a financial transaction and the person consistently is not paying or they have excuses. You have to say to yourself, this person can't afford to do this and they're not going to do it. So my question for you is, where is the line between humanity and compassion and giving back and setting a boundary and say, wait a minute, I've heard this tune before. I've heard this song many times before and I'm turning it off. What do you think?
First off, I have to say, I love the ping pong reference and the boy who cries wolf. I've never heard that in conjunction. I love that. It's
Thank you.
You know what? That is a hard line. and everyone has to make it for themselves, because everyone's boundary is going to be different, because every situation is going to be different. I know from personal experience, I worked with a teacher once, and it matches your question almost perfectly, because at school we have a schedule. Classes start at this time, breaks at this time, end of the day at this time. And this teacher was always right after lunch and was supposed to come and take the students from this class to another class. They were always 10 to 15 minutes late. And they always had an excuse. And eventually it became a part of the routine where I knew I'd have the students extra, which would then play into the timings for what I needed to get done. And it got to a point where we could not have a decent conversation anymore because of the disruption to the entire day and the schedule. And we had to eventually bring other people into it to help mediate, because this other person did not understand that their being late all the time was affecting not just me and the team I worked with, or the other teachers that we worked with, but it affected the students as well, and the rest of the day in the timetable. So we had to place those boundaries, but I still don't know if they ever fully understood that because they were making excuses, it made it tough to work with them.
I am completely in agreement with you, because it's a ripple effect. When we don't do what we say we're going to do, we don't necessarily see how it's going to affect the other person. And then you may have made an agreement with someone else that was contingent upon this situation, and so on and so on and so on. And what I found is when people are in a place where they are not being their authentic selves because of insecurity, because of fear of something, they may not even be aware. And so I think we call this social etiquette. And one of the examples you and I talked about off camera is I realized this at the place where I work out. People are going into the bathroom on the phone. So this is showing something to me. I don't know what exactly, but if you're having a personal conversation in a public toilet, I will never be calling you on the phone. That is for sure, because I don't want to be the one who you're on the phone with. And so you have to make a decision. Someone shows you something about themselves. That doesn't mean we have to judge them. We get to step back and say, this isn't working. We don't have to give excuses either, do we?
No, we don't. But we normally do. I think it's a human trait that we want to give an excuse, and we often will give a very long excuse, especially for feeling guilty. Or sometimes that excuse is not quite truth because they have all these details.
I totally agree. And by the way, something else that comes up is I've seen this happen over and over again. The person didn't do what they said they were going to do. They start making excuses, and then they turn it on you. This is actually your fault. It's your fault because I wouldn't have agreed to this if you didn't make me. Oh, I'm sorry. How did I make you agree to this? Was there some duress that you're claiming? Well, at the time that I said I was going to do it, I just said it because I didn't want to hear you anymore. And this happens in relationships all the time. Just to shut someone up, we will agree to something. And the other person truly believes that you are interested in making the situation work and you're going to do this. And you're thinking, I'll just tell this person anything so I don't have to have this conversation again. So what would you do in a situation like that? You can pick either side.
I have to admit that I've done both. And I think, again, to admit that we've been wrong on something, right? We've made this commitment, we haven't carried through. If we were to admit that, it makes us have to look at ourselves, and that can be sometimes very, very hard. But I know I'll be having a strong conversation with my husband, and I know that it's my fault, something that I've put something away wrong, or I didn't clean something, or I didn't do something I said I would do. We've all been in those situations in relationships with siblings or friends, but I won't always want to admit to it. And I can I'm one of the world's worst fibbers. I cannot tell a tale to save my life. My face is too expressive, and I'm just horrible at it. But it doesn't mean I don't try sometimes, especially if he's caught me and having been reading on the couch and not doing what I needed to do that day. Or I snuck the jelly beans when I said, nope, I'm on a hard no sugar for this week. But I'll try.
I love the honesty.
I'm not saying those happen, but they could have been.
That's okay, because you are aware of it. Yes. So thank you for your honesty and transparency on that. I think when we're not aware of what we're doing, that's when it can be a real issue. Or if we're using it as manipulation or a tool to get what it is that we want. So for example, if someone makes an agreement to do something with you because ultimately they have another objective, and that objective benefits them only, and then they don't do what they say they're going to do anyway, because I guess it wasn't pure of heart. So I want our audience to at least understand that when someone shows you who they are, in the first encounter you meet with them, that's probably who they are. And I know myself as a woman, having been in relationships, a long time ago, you see someone, they're dressed a certain way, they act a certain way. Oh, I can fix them. Oh, I can change them. No, you cannot. You cannot. You can get someone to wear different clothes, but they're going to still be the same person they are, because they've shown you who they are. So you have to accept it. But I think we tell ourselves so many stories about what it is that we want, that we can make it work. So you're dealing with a situation, a person who's not in alignment with your values and your morals, but you think you're going to change them. How can we change someone, Amanda?
In all honesty, you can't. You can give them the tools, and I see this in my own courses and workshops. You can give them the tools so that they can learn, but you can't make anybody change. They have to want to change. It's one of the reasons I love working with children, is because they're sponges, and then they become our ambassadors, right? You've taught them this, they go out and use it, and suddenly people are going, oh, look at that child. That is so neat. I wonder if I can do that. And it spreads. But you hear it with adults quite often. And like you said, in relationships, somebody will be doing something and you'll stay and go, I can fix this. If I stay longer, if I just try that little bit harder, I can help change them. But you can't change somebody if they don't want to. You can help give them the tools, like I said, but they have to want to take that step.
That's right. They're responsible for their own personal and professional development. And Amanda, we are going to hear from one of our team members, Red O'Laughlin. He's going to talk to us about his new book, Aging Sucks. And when we come back, I want to talk about the work that you're doing at Silver Rose & Co. and how it ties in with what we're doing here today. So we'll be right back. Stay tuned.
What if many of the problems we associate with aging are not random? What if there are identifiable causes behind declining energy, chronic disease, and memory problems? We have been told that aging is simply something we must accept, that slowing down is normal, that growing older means growing weaker. But what if that's only part of the story? Why do some people remain active and engaged well into their later years? Why do others struggle with disease, fatigue, and declining health? What is happening beneath the surface? What processes drive aging? In Aging Sucks, researcher, educator, and author Red O'Loughlin explores what researchers have discovered about why we grow older. No medical degree required, no confusing jargon, just clear explanations of what researchers have discovered about the processes that influence aging. You cannot stop aging, but understanding its causes may help you make better decisions about your health, your future, and your quality of life. Because understanding comes before action. Action creates hope. Aging sucks. End the guesswork. There is hope.
Welcome back to Woman's Prerogative, where we are discussing when someone shows you who they are, believe them. Let's welcome back our co-host, Amanda Holmstrom. Hello, Amanda. Thank you.
Hi.
Let's talk about your work at Silver Rose & Co. And how does this tie in with our topic today?
You know what? It ties in because a lot of people they get put in situations, both socially, personally, and they're not sure how to handle it, right? You walk into a room and you look around going, okay, does everybody know something I don't know? And that's what we help with at Silver Rose is life skills, communication, and that helps people have those tools that we were speaking about before the break so that they can go into those situations and say, I can do this. I can help with this. Oh, let me volunteer for this because I know what I can do. And it just gives them that inner confidence to be able to take those moments to step up and show who they are and what they're capable of and carry through.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we thank our audience for their comments, especially about hope. Hope is powerful. So I want to talk a little bit about hope because I know myself in romantic relationships. I'm single. I've been single for a long time, not interested in meeting anyone. But I have been in relationships where it was a monogamous, committed relationship. And then I just didn't hear from the person. And my first go-to is they must be dead. They're in the hospital. They are in prison. I don't know where they are. Something extreme must have happened. And ultimately what ended up happening was they just weren't interested. And so they didn't want to just say, listen, it's not working. I don't want to do this anymore. And it's the same thing in friendships, even in business. People ghost us. I remember when I was in corporate, I would do a lot of cold calling. And then you would have a meeting with the senior executive and you are going to move towards doing a proposal and you do the proposal and then they just disappear. And we have hope that it is something that, maybe they forgot our phone number. Maybe they left the country for something unexpected. But the truth is they're just not interested. They've shown us. But in our own mind, we have this hope that it will all work out instead of looking at the reality. So it brings me back to when people show us their behavior, we tend to read into it to make it what we want it to be. It's almost like if you think about with kids, you have Play-Doh and you can make the Play-Doh into shapes, but it's still a blob, right? You got to do something with it. And it might not look the way we want it to look when we start massaging and making it into something, but yet that's what we do in situations. We create our own story in our own head because we don't want to face the truth. Thoughts?
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. And those stories that we make up in our heads, they become bigger than us sometimes. And you start believing them too, in some ways. And that can lead to many multiple situations. I've met a few people who lived in their own world that they had created. And they were bigger than life. it wasn't harming anyone. It gave them the confidence to do things. But I've also met people who had their own stories that they had made up about situations so that they would feel better about themselves and they wouldn't have to admit what they had done or how they had affected somebody else. Those stories you make up in your mind can be very powerful tools to carry you through something, but they can be quite harming as well. But I like what you said about hope. And I think hope is one of the biggest tools any of us has, because it can carry us through so many situations.
I agree. I think we just have to have a boundary between looking at what a situation is. And I'll give another example. Again, when I was in corporate, on Mondays, we used to have our sales meetings and we'd have to go around the horn, so to speak, and everybody would talk about where they were with their various accounts. And, we might hear the same story, right? XYZ company, and I'm just about to get somewhere. And the executive would say, let me just look through my notes. The last 10 meetings, you said you were making progress and you still haven't had a meeting. And the person said, well, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful. And so the executive's response was, hope springs eternal, right? So when you're running a business, you have to be able to have a clear line between where there is hope and where there's action, because if you're not bringing in revenue, you can be as hopeful as you want and you're going to be out of business.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But that's a hard boundary for people. And I'm sure you've come up against people like that. I come up against students in the classroom or a parent who comes in and they'll go, oh, but my child was this. And you're going, no. This is what had to be done. This is how they're doing. They didn't do this, or they did do this and they're doing fabulous. But it's a very hard boundary to have to set.
It's true. And I love the fact that you brought up children. I don't have any children, but I know from studying this that, let's say there's something going on at a school and the principal calls, the nurse calls, whomever, and says, your son was in a fight with so-and-so. And so you go down to the school and your son tells you one version of the story and the other person tells a different version of the story. And of course, you want to believe the version that your son tells. And then there's a third party who saw the whole thing and isn't biased in any way and tells you, well, this is what happened. But you can't let go of what your son said because you want to believe your son. But yet somebody filmed it and it's right there. There's the evidence and you still don't want to believe it, because how could your little Bobby, your little Susie, your little whomever, how could they do something? So I do think we have blinders on, especially when it's for people who are close to us and even ourselves. We can't even see our own behavior.
Absolutely. And I love how that ties right into our show title. They're showing themselves, and children have to learn. You teach them right from wrong. So it's a long learning process. And I've been in that situation. Multiple times I'd get that phone call and they'd go, one of your children has done this, and the child's going, no, I didn't. And you're going, well, he says he didn't. Well, we have multiple, and you're going, okay, but I really want to believe my child. But you do have to admit that, okay, maybe they weren't innocent. Middle ground. There's always two sides to a story, and then somewhere in the middle is hopefully what actually happened. But they're showing you a bit of who they are. And are you willing to accept it? Which comes back to everything we're discussing today. And I love how you brought up the personal relationships. That is hard. Your parents, your grandparents, your children, your spouse, your best friend. You want to believe the best, and you want to believe they always will be there for you, or that if they treat you badly, it's a one-off. Oh, you know what? They're having a bad day. Next week or tomorrow, or it'll be better. And you keep doing that because it's that hope and a belief that you want them to be what you need them to be. And you're not willing to believe what they're showing you.
So true. So true. We have a comment from 5 Elements Infinity on YouTube. Thanks for watching. We are trying to be the best version of ourselves. Okay, thank you again for the comment. I just want to point out a couple of things. The word trying to me doesn't equate, because we are either being the best version of ourselves or we're not. Because we can't try something, whether we're doing it or we're not doing it, in my opinion. And the other thing is, sometimes we think we are doing what's right, but it may only be right for us. And we made commitments to others, and we're not actually looking at the full picture. So I'd love to know what your thoughts are about the word trying. And again, I'm not picking you out, 5 Elements Infinity. I appreciate you commenting, but I do hear the word trying, and I will say to someone, you're either doing it or not. You're either picking up a book or you're not. You're either talking or you're not. You're listening or you're not. There's nowhere in between in my world. What do you think?
First, I want to say thank you for that comment as well. Fabulous. My family are very big sci-fi and fantasy. We're complete geeks in our family. And one of the things I always had posted on my kids' walls was a picture of Yoda and his do or do not. There is no try. You're either going to do it or you're not going to do it. It's learning as you're going. You're not trying, because you're going to either say, I'm going to do this, and you're going to pick up the tools you need and you're going to do it, or you're going to come up with excuses on why you can't do it. And everyone has a different level on where they hit for that. But I have to agree, there really is no trying. You're learning, you're doing, or you're not going to.
And it could be as simple as not yet. I'm working on it. Yes. I haven't accomplished it yet, meaning my intention is to do so. But in order to do so, we have to take action. We have to take steps. And it's actually a selfish plug for my new book, which I wasn't planning on mentioning, but it fits in so well. My new book is called Stop Why Knowing Isn't Enough, meaning we have all the information that we need, but we don't take action. So in other words, if I make a commitment to do something and I repeatedly am disappointing you, right? Your expectations were that I was going to do what I said I was going to do. So expectation is one thing, and then me making a commitment to do something and not delivering it, they're two separate things. I'm responsible for this last part, and you're responsible for your expectations. But we have all the information. The information is we made an agreement. It could be a verbal agreement. It's a written agreement. We understand there's an agreement. Do things come up in life? Absolutely. Does that mean we don't follow through on our agreements? I don't believe so. Maybe it gets delayed or stalled, but we let the other person know. We don't just disappear.
Very true. Very true. It's all factors of life, right? As you mentioned, it happens in business and your personal. I have it happening right now. Very minor situation is I currently live in Indonesia, and my family has been pushing to learn Bahasa for the last few years while we've been there. My husband is very dedicated. He's got his Duolingo. He practices. He does every single day. And he and my kids are constantly going, Mom, you haven't signed on for your family Duolingo yet. And I keep going, oh, you know what? I just don't have the time today. And one of my kids actually called me on it this morning and went, you're not going to do it, are you, Mom? And I went, probably not at the moment.
Now, Amanda, wasn't that a relief when you said, you know what, actually, I'm not going to do it?
No, not right now. Maybe in a month, maybe in a couple months, once I get everything else kind of sorted and I feel like I've caught up. But no, oh, Mom, it's only a couple of minutes a day. And I'm going, yeah, no.
Well, let's break that down. Part of the reason I believe these things occur is because it's not a priority for us. It's a priority for someone else, and they want it to be a priority for us. And then setting that boundary and saying, you know what, I appreciate why you want me to do this. At this time, I'm not able to do it. Now, if you started giving an entire arm's length worth of excuses about why you can't do it, people can just go through every single one of them. And the bottom line is you just don't want to do it at this time. And so that is sufficient. How do you feel in giving a succinct answer like that?
You know what? I actually felt a lot better, because every time I gave that excuse, well, Mom, when are you starting? When are you going to do this? Or I'd have my husband going, he'd be doing his and he goes, oh, that was really easy. And I'd be sitting there going, oh, I need to really start that so that I don't want to do it. Not now. I do want to eventually learn it, but language I find is very hard for me. So it is one of those things that I need to give the time. And I just don't feel I have it at the moment.
And that's fair. And for those of you who don't know, Amanda is a world traveler. It is amazing how much she gets accomplished in how many different time zones. And Amanda and I met last year in London, and we had a conversation, and I just knew she was going to be joining our team. I don't know that she knew it, but I knew it. And here we are a year later. Amanda, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you, and who would you like to contact you?
Well, as I said earlier, I am the director and founder of Silver Rose & Co. And we provide social confidence and life skills education for preschool children right through to adults. And we do this around the world. I'm happy to come to you. So to learn more, visit the website at silverroseco.ca. And you can also find us. You can find Silver Rose on Facebook and YouTube, Instagram. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm under Amanda Holmstrom, and that's HOLMSTROM. And I'd love to hear from you, so please contact me.
And the silverroseco.ca, which CA means Canada, that is on the screen right now for our friends who will be listening later on a podcast platform as well. And we do want to take the time. We love to hear from our fans. Thank you very much. At 5 Elements Infinity, Jacalyn and Amanda, take this opportunity to thank you for having me on your broadcast. Thank you very much. We really do appreciate it. Amanda, thank you. I look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you. And I look forward to seeing you next week as well.
Okay, bye for now.
Bye.
Wherever it is that you're watching, I would personally love it, and I know our team would, if you would subscribe to our channel. So if you're on YouTube, if you can just go to the subscribe button for USA Global TV and Radio, where we have earned the YouTube Silver Creator Award, and also my own personal channel, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, we would greatly appreciate it. Okay. What we talked about today, to sum it all up, is sometimes we want situations to be other than what they really are. We want people to be someone other than who they are. People show us who they are. And to quote Mel Robbins, she's got a book out called Let Them Theory, and we're not aligned with her at all, but I do celebrate her. Let people be who they are. Let people do what they're going to do. And you and I can set our boundaries and say, this isn't for me. This is for me. I'm going to engage. I'm not going to engage. So our expectations have to be based in reality, because if they're not, we're setting ourselves up to fail. And when we fail, we carry that with us into other projects, into other relationships, and even into our sleep. We can't sleep because we're tormented by the fact that so-and-so didn't do what they said they were going to do. But they already showed us in the past. So let them do what they're going to do, but remove them from your life, from your expectations, from any future engagements. So now we're going to take a look at the movie trailer for my new book, Stop Why Knowing Isn't Enough, and you can pick up your copy on Amazon. Thank you.
Every day, we wake up knowing what we should do. We know we should take better care of ourselves. We know we should have the difficult conversation. We know we should stop making excuses. We know we should invest in our future. We also know we should take the first step. So why don't we? It's not because we aren't smart enough. It's not because we don't have enough information. And it's certainly not because we don't care. We live in a world overflowing with knowledge. books, podcasts, videos, courses, experts, even artificial intelligence. We have more access to information than any generation before us. Yet so many of us are still waiting for the right time, waiting to feel ready, waiting until tomorrow. But tomorrow becomes next week becomes next year, and before you know it, another opportunity has passed us by. The truth is, knowing has never been the finish line. It's only the starting line. Our lives don't change because we know more. Our businesses don't grow because we know more. Our relationships don't improve because we know more. And our health doesn't transform because we know more. Everything changes when we act. When we choose courage over comfort, progress over perfection, action over intention. The question isn't, what else do we need to know? The question is, what are we going to do with what we already know? Stop. Why Knowing Isn't Enough by Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Because knowing opens the door. Action changes your life. Available September 2026.
People are searching for experts every day. Are they finding you, or are they finding someone else? Every day, professionals are building authority through media. We've already built the platform. USA Global TV and Radio. Over 14,000 shows streamed to over 60 countries. This isn't about becoming famous. It's about leverage, visibility, credibility, opportunity. One interview, one conversation, one show, repurposed into content, connection, and business growth. Most people assume hosting a TV show requires a studio, a production team, and a massive budget. Our television packages begin at $1,500 US per month. Professional production, global distribution, replay visibility, built for voices with something to say. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and if this resonates with you, we should talk. USA Global TV and Radio, all rights reserved. Contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USAGlobalTV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.